So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains, and welcome to Further Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Just here on my own at the moment, waiting. I think Paddy's going to be jumping on in a moment. Paddy's in Villa Park today. Paddy is lucky to be over at Villa Park for this game today for Aston Villa versus West Ham. So once he gets a chance, I know he had some meetings he needed to attend when he was over there as part of the Irish Lions and being one of the Lions group chairman. So after that, I'm hoping that he's going to join us on the podcast today. But Team Sheet Tantrum, it's been a hell of a long time, it seems, since we've done one of these. And I'm absolutely delighted to be back on and looking forward to this one. A home game, obviously, Aston Villa versus West Ham. 107 of you already in the comments. If you guys like what you see, if you like the podcast itself, give us a thumbs up there on this one quickly, and then maybe more people will be able to join us. Before we get started as well, just in case anybody isn't a subscriber, if you want to click on the subscribe button and you haven't seen some of the live podcast stuff that we've done recently, you can go back and you can check that out on the channel. And the reason I bring that up is because just a couple of things this morning may lead to another live podcast, just something that came absolutely 100% out of the blue this morning and has me smiling from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat. So, so if you want to see what the first one was like, the second one, hopefully, if it gets off the ground, might even be a small little bit better. Enough of that, though. Enough of that. Let's have a little chat about Aston Villa and let's have a little chat about Aston Villa and West Ham. As I said, coming up today at 4:30. The only game on today, which is nice, which means we should have all the coverage to ourselves. But you just know what's going to happen is there's going to be 91,500 conversations about should Konate have been sent off yesterday for Liverpool, or should penalties have been given against given to Liverpool or whoever else yesterday. That's just the way these things work, specifically when you've got an hour to build up to West Ham and Aston Villa, two teams massively on form, two teams that are, I suppose, two teams that are probably, not surprise packages, but two teams that are performing really, really well this season. Look, well-oiled machines up at the upper echelons of the league. West Ham obviously getting hitting the ground running after losing Declan Rice. And I listened to the 1874 podcast. Dan Bardell and Dave Reid were talking about it, and they made a great point on the podcast about the difference between us losing Grealish, who was our attacking outlet, and singularly our attacking outlet, as opposed to losing Declan Rice, who being a defensive midfielder might be easier to replace via committee. And we went and we tried to replace Jack Grealish by committee, and it didn't really work. But today is an interesting one because the players that West Ham have brought in are obviously very, very good. They're very high quality. Edson Alvarez, somebody that we had spoken about in transfer on scouting series before without actually doing a scouting series on him. Really good defensive midfielder, and somebody that is hopefully Aston Villa will be able to bypass today because he can be a thorn in a lot of teams' sides. And then obviously James Ward-Prowse further up the field, somebody that Aston Villa are going to have to keep an eye on, specifically delivery from dead balls, but also his ability to play in open play as well, in this new further forward role that he's been given since he's come to West Ham, a role I feel he is better at than he was playing more in that traditional 8 or even at times a 6 for Southampton last year. So David Moyes is really getting the best out of this team that he has assembled. The back line looks very, very rock solid. Kufal has been an amazing signing for them, considering what he's given them back for the price that he was purchased for, should I say. Emerson Palmieri then the other side with you pick him in the middle of the fence with Zuma and probably Agard, I think is I can never pronounce his name in there, but they've got like 3 or 4 very, very good centre halves that they can drop in there at any notice. So a well-oiled machine. West Ham, David Moyes has definitely retooled that team, and I think that obviously, yes, as Dave Bond mentions there as well, with the likes of Jared Bourne up top as well. Aston Villa are going to need to have their big boy pants on today to get something from this game. But get something from this game, I think they will. And Aston Villa at home are a very different beast to Aston Villa away, and we're coming into this game in good form too. I think some of the players that stayed behind and didn't go on international duty today. I think some of the players we needed not to go on international duty did stay at home, didn't go on international duty, and that's going to be an interesting one as well. So I am, apologies there, everybody. I'm just looking for something here because I thought I had loaded up the screen, just getting ready for a team sheet announcement at some stage. Perfect. There we go. Couple of you guys there talking about where are we? Yes. So a couple of people there talking about John McGinn. And John McGinn being a catalyst today. Absolutely. John McGinn must be on cloud 9 at the moment. He must be really happy with the fact that Scotland have qualified and are going to another major international tournament and fully deserve to be there. Their performances against Spain over the course of the performance against Spain, even in a losing effort over the course of the last few weeks, was very, very good. It was really good performance, and there's a nice team forming there. And John McGinn is the heartbeat of that team. And he's our captain as well. And when he plays well, the team plays well here for Aston Villa. So, Villa it's not that they're reliant on John McGinn, but a good John McGinn elevates Aston Villa and makes them ultimately better. Yes, I think today, if John McGinn can find those pockets of space, I would prefer to see John McGinn more focused on the right-hand side today, if at all possible. I do think that we could see the Matty Cash, Luca Dean 5-man midfield, 3-man at the back situation today. Obviously, it's not a massive surprise if that happens anymore, considering we've seen it more and more often. I just feel that with Diego Carlos fit again, it's going to be Unai Emery's preferred formation, because what it allows us to do is not have to 100% play Diaby up top, and you can give Diaby that free role up, within moving from a 9 to a 10, or even moving back, or even moving out wide if Matty Cash goes narrow or something along those lines. So I think getting him space, getting Diaby comfortable on the ball, getting him touches of the ball is very, very important. There's been 1 or 2 games this season when he hasn't been force-fed the ball, and when he hasn't gotten the workload that I think a player of his quality needs. It's something that I want to see happen to him. I want to see him force-fed. He is our top player, essentially, and I want to see him get more and more of the ball, because he is a massive attacking threat for us, and that goes without saying. So I'm sorry there, guys. I'm just there's something flashing here on my screen the whole time. It's not the good type of flashing either. But it's just keeps on flashing up, telling me that I'm no longer streaming, but I can see that I am. So if it's pretty pointless asking you guys if the stream drops, pop it into the chat, because I probably won't be able to see it if it drops. But everything looks okay, and I don't seem to be losing anybody at the moment, so that's okay. Team sheet looks like it's out, everybody, and we have our team sheet. So our starting 11 is Martinez in goals, Cash, Konza, Pau Torres, and Digne. So my initial thoughts there are that it's not the 3 at the back, obviously. McGinn, Kamara, Douglas Luiz, Zaniolo, Diaby, and Watkins. Very attacking, trying to pin West Ham back. Make sure their double pivot of Souček and Edson Alvarez are kept honest, I suppose, really. And yeah, I like to look at that lineup, and that lineup definitely gets a bit of applause from me, for sure. So fair play to like, as I say, the temptation for me would have been to bring in Diego Carlos, but I can't give out about that lineup there, for sure. On the bench we have Robin Olsen, Diego Carlos, Tielemans, Traore, Chambers, Longley, Bailey, then Donker, and Omari Kellyman makes the bench as well, which is very, very good to see as well. So it's look, it's wonderful. I think at the next EGM between myself and Paddy, I am going to put forward the motion of changing the name of this podcast from the Team Sheet Tantrum, because we just don't have him anymore. We just don't have him. Like, we have good players to come in 90% of the positions that we have. And, when we change formation from a 4 to a 3 or a 3 to a 4 at the back, it's not really even a tantrum anymore. So, that's why it's a muted celebration here. Because this isn't a surprise. Nobody there is a surprise. And, as I say, I suppose really probably the biggest name that will get a lot of the neutrals talking is Zaniolo there. I always expected him to, like, if we're playing 4 at the back, he was definitely playing today for us, ahead of Bailey, because I just never felt like as his story went on and as the allegations against him began to become clearer and clearer as to what was being alleged, what had happened, what the investigation was about, it began to get lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser from the point of view of the illegality from a sporting morality point of view. And as it seems now, his betting was confined to blackjack and things like that at the moment. Obviously, we don't know the full ins and outs, but that's what it looks like. So to have him on the bench, to have him on the field today, I think he's. It's going to be interesting to see what his body language is. It's going to be interesting to see what he is a person or as a player. From I suppose, does he have this kind of chip in his shoulder to go out and show the world today? Because he has been one of the like in European continental football, his name has been bandied about an awful lot over the last 2 weeks. He obviously has that fight to clear his name off the field, and I wonder will he bring that fight to the field today, because we're all expecting him. When is he going to score his first goal? And no better time than to score it when you've got your back against the wall and a bit of adversity against you. Come out, score that goal, get people talking about you for a different reason, and then go on and score another goal against Alkmaar during the middle of the week, and that's the best way to turn the narrative around, because regardless of whether he is innocent or not, the amount of mud that's been flung at him in the last 2 weeks is going to, in the short term, have its backlash, whether it be on social media or whether it be from the away fans today. Zaniolo is going to take some heat on the field. He seems like he's a big boy who can take that. He's obviously, he's in his past with Roma fans, actually turning up to his house and trying to storm his house and him having to flee. He's gone through that adversity before, so this is hopefully for him. He will be in a good frame of mind, and I think that he will be in a good frame of mind to be able to take this on the field. And the more and more I look at this team sheet, the more his name jumps out at me, and I hope today can be the day that he breaks his duck for Aston Villa and gets that goal as well. So fair play to him. Well, obviously, everything I've said there is with the caveat of we only know what we know at the moment. If he has been found, and I will always say this about anyone, regardless of what player it is, if they have been found to have broken any ethics laws, any rules or anything from sport, any breaches of contract with regards to sporting, to the sporting code of conduct or anything like that, well, then they face the consequences. But as we are at this moment in time, it doesn't seem that he has done that. Should anything change, my opinion will change in it as well. And I think that's just the healthiest way to be when we see things like this. But I am very, very firmly in the Zaniolo to score today and break his duck camp today, because we've seen some flashes from him. We've seen some times where he's gone missing in games as well, but that's fine. He's only one man and he's getting used to the Premier League. If that bicycle kick attempt that he had flies in the top corner, or that shot that he had this, who saved it? Was it against? I can't remember, but it was an absolute rasper. It was probably, I think it might have been in the Wolves game. Had an absolute rasper of a shot, which was saved, tipped over the bar. One of those worldies goes in. He has a very different complexion, I think, in the coming weeks and months. And it's only a matter of time, I think, before he gets his first goal. And starting him today is a real kind of shot in the arm for him. It's a real pat in the back for him from Unai Emery, and it's a real, it should be a real boost to his confidence as well, because, as I say, he's a player of undoubted talent, and he's gotten used to the Premier League. And hopefully the fact that, he came home early from international duty after being left out of the Italy squad because of the allegations, he's had more time to work with the likes of Diaby, with the likes of Douglas Luiz, with the likes of, the other players that were there, Konzap, and the likes of Digne that were there, those players that didn't travel on international duty. I'm going to take some of your comments while I root around here and try and find the West Ham team, which shouldn't be very hard to do. But firstly, I want to take some of your comments there as well. So Sebastian Villa says he definitely would have started Carlos to counter the physical threat. Yeah, I can see certainly. If so, the big thing here is, and I can see both sides of the 4-4-2 or the 4 whatever. The playing 4 at the back and playing 3 at the back. The reason I can see both sides of it is West Ham don't control the ball at all. So if we can absolutely pass them off the field and frustrate them and keep the ball away from them, then do we really need Diego Carlos there? And then the flip side of it is they only need one corner. They only need one free kick from wide areas. They only need one counter attack. And I know that obviously makes sense, but I suppose this just shows that Unai Emery's game plan here is to go out, own the ball as best we can, and we've shown that we can do that in games today, and play our game as opposed to worry about their bullying game. Limit the amount of shots they can have on goal, limit the amount of opportunities for them to set up set pieces, which is easier said than done, I know, but I can see why Diego Carlos isn't in there, but I can also see why he would be in there. And for me, it's I would have started Carlos. As I said, I would have started Carlos. But then again, I've just spoken for the last 4 minutes about Zaniolo as well. And I wouldn't have got that 4 minutes to speak about Zaniolo and his whole situation. So I can see that it's 6 in one, half a dozen in the other for sure. Mark Brannigan says, no Duran in the bench. I didn't cop that. No Duran in the bench. Interesting one. Yeah, interesting one. Specifically since Kellyman is there. I wonder will someone ask him that pre-match. I presume somebody will ask him that, but let's just see. Justin says Duran should have gone and known if he's missing out on the bench now. This is the first time he's missed out on the bench. We don't know whether he picked up an injury, whether he's a knock or something like that. I can't remember. Was he away on an international duty with Colombia? You'd imagine he was. Maybe he just came home later than everybody else, with it being South American game. Who knows? I don't know. I checked out of football for the last 2 weeks for various different reasons. So enlighten me in the comments if you guys know, was he on international duty. So that is as I say, let's see what the story is there. Danny says, I don't care if we never have a tantrum again. It would be sacrilege to change the name of this segment. I kind of feel that way too. It would pain me to have to change this, but it's funny. New listeners to the podcast, and I see Team Sheet Tantrum, we regularly get DMs on Twitter saying, I thought the tantrum was going to be like Arsenal Fan TV, but it wasn't. It was actually nice and measured, and there wasn't actually much that went on there. I think it's, the name goes back to the early days. It was a sarcastic name for it when Dean Smith was over the team, and we'd have the same 11 all the time. And there was very rarely a change in the team sheet. And now we're getting back to those days again, I suppose. The name can be that sarcastic tantrum again. So, yeah, it would pay me to have to change it, and I probably won't, put it that way. I probably won't change it. People are calling it the team sheet ramble. Yeah, we might go like that as well in the future. Where else are we here? So a couple of scores are coming in there, but before we start looking at any scores, let's look at the West Ham 11. We have Ariola. See, look, a well-run club, beautiful. None of the numerical order crap that we see other teams have. None of the other ones whereby it's a link where you have to click into it and you get this big, massive, long article about the team. Just a God's honest image with the players and the positions they're going to play, and a nice, beautiful man standing there. That's all you need. Don't overcomplicate it, Premier League teams. Don't overcomplicate it. Just put it the way every fan wants to read it, instead of hiding it behind an article or whatever else. Anyway, that's my rant out of the way. That can be my tantrum. Ariola and goals. Kufal, Zuma, Aguard, and Emerson, Alvarez and Souček, Ward-Prowse, Paqueta, Bowen, and Antonio. Absolutely no surprises there. That is their strongest 11. And that is the team I expected to see on paper for West Ham today. Their substitutes are Fabianski, Fornals, Mohamed Kudus, who we know that we were tentatively linked to. I did a scouting series on him. Really good player. I hope he doesn't come back to bite me today, based on the fact that I was raved about him during the summer. Mavropanos as well, very, very good signing for them. Got him for half nothing. Very good centre half there as well. Danny Ings, our former friend turned foe. Ogbana, Benrahma, Kerr, and Mubama as well there. just the last person there to round out the substitutes bench. Lots and lots of options for them on the bench, just like us. We have lots and lots of options on our bench too, and it's two nicely poised teams. I think two nicely poised teams. I think it's going to be a case of the better prepared team today. I think is the better prepared team who makes the least amount of mistakes will win today, and that isn't always the case. And I know that seems like, but sure, that's going to be the team that's going to win every week. I don't think it is, because you could be very well, like there have been games that have slipped away from teams before, even though they've been well prepared for them, and another team changes their tactics midstream. I think both of these teams will go out and for the 90 minutes will go hammer and tongs at each other, and I'm expecting a really good game. It's, as I say, it's the only game in the Premier League today. It's the only game on TV today, so it's hopefully it's going to be a humdinger, and Aston Villa come out the right side of this. I don't think Patrick is going to be joining us today. As I said, he was in meetings. He didn't know how long they were going to run on for. Hasn't even seen my message yet where I sent him the link for this. So if you tuned in for Paddy, you're just going to have to tune into the post-match podcast, which will be on directly after this, after the match, should I say, as we hit the final whistle. And you'll see Paddy on that one, because he's going to be, he's calling me via WhatsApp here. I can't answer. I can't answer it. So I'm just going to message him back and tell him, yeah. I can't. So let's see where's everybody else's comments. Let me get rid of this and we'll start sharing. So if you want to start popping in your scores, your predicted scores, we might run through those now. And might get you finished up for this podcast to get you in front of your TV or wherever you are a small bit quicker. After this podcast, you will route directly into AVFC Status live watch along for the game as well. Don't forget, that's going to be happening after nearly every team sheet tantrum. Put it this way, if Dale is doing a watch along after and we're doing a team sheet tantrum beforehand, we will page you directly into Dale afterwards. So if you are a fan of AVFC Status, and I can't understand why you wouldn't be, never fear. We got your back here. We'll direct you straight to his stream, and likewise after his stream is finished, you'll be directed straight back into us again for the post match. So the Villa content keeps coming, and as I say, the wonderful thing about Aston Villa content creators is they're all bloody sound, and we all help each other out. It's always great to be able to help people specifically to stay in contact with Villa and to get as much Villa content as they possibly can, specifically those people who are overseas or maybe can't get the games or maybe sick at home. So Dale is obviously going to do a brilliant watch along as well. So stick around directly after this podcast and you'll be routed straight to Dale once we finish up here. So where are we? I'm going to get to some comments as well here first, just before we get to the scores. Adam Townsend is looking for a Zaniolo hat-trick today. I'll take one goal from Zaniolo today, but if he happens to score a hat-trick, I won't say no to it. Zenny is asking about Bailey. Bailey's on the bench for us today. Yeah, Bailey is on the bench. Did I say Duran has a knock? I didn't. I don't know. I'm presuming that he was on international duty. I don't know whether he was or whether he wasn't. But I'm sure it will be. There it is. Robert Riley said plays 15 minutes in the second game for Colombia, and he's from the same city as your wife, Robert. Excellent. We might have to get if you know of anybody in the same city, get him to do a roving report, see if they can find his old school teacher or something like that, and we can interview him and ask him what John Heder was like, and I'd see if the man that we see on the field, the caring Brutus of a man that goes out and the man who before the game plays keepy uppies with the mascots, but then goes out in the field and barrels through centre halves for fun. We see what that man is actually really like, or what he was like at his studies in school, if you have that as well. So we're going to start off with some of the scores that you guys have. Sucheap says 2-0 to Villa. Where else are we? Oh, the scores coming in left, right, and centre here. Shane Mead says 2-1 to the Villa. Need to dominate midfield battle. Absolutely. Tom says 5-0 Villa. If Villa win 5-0 today, I will do something or donate something to the Villa Foundation. How's about that? Not saying that it isn't possible, but if they do, I would be so delighted that I would like to maybe do something for as a fundraiser, or just make a decent donation to the Villa Foundation, because that would make my weekend. For a pretty crappy last week, 2 weeks. 5-0 Villa would make my absolutely turn my phone upside down, put it that way. Sai AVFC says 4-1. We owe these ones, can't lose. This being and he's standing there. Rich Mac says 3-0. Dev Bond says 3-1 Villa. Habs says 3-1 Villa. Oscar says 3-2. I think there's goals in this too. Oscar, I definitely do. Daniel says 2-0 Villa. Brown Rob says 2-1 Villa. Audrey says sneaky 1-0 win to Villa with the Abbey to score. I'll absolutely take it. I think there's going to be more than one goal in it, but I'll take a 1-0 all day long. Tom Ryan says 2-1 Villa. Dave Dwyer says 3-1 to Villa. 11 wins in a row. Forgot all about that. Yeah, 11 wins at home, league wins at home. That's a fact. That would be a super record, and long may it continue. And even if we don't lose today, making the Fortress Villa Park would be absolutely fantastic as well to see. Jake Aston Villa says 3-0. Paul Miller says 2-1. Bertie says 4-0. Paper Wings, the Game Cat says 2-1 to Villa. Stephen Brown says 2-1 to Villa. Standing on the Word says 3-1 to Villa. YouTube user says 1-0, undecided as to who. Habs says my camera is looking well. Thank you, Habs. I can see more furrows on my brow anyway. That's one thing for sure, which makes me want to change back to the old webcam I had. C Sully 5 says 3-1 to the Villa. John Banbury says 2-0. Jar Kerwin says 2-1 Villa. Lloyd 11 says 2-1 to West Ham. He has a bad feeling about this one. Garrett McDonough says 2-1 to Villa. Damien says Zaniolo is going to score in the 21st minute. Dan Ferry says 2-1 Villa with Zaniolo score. Anne O'Grady says 2-0. Bailey is on the bench. Did I not call out Bailey? Did people tell me Bailey isn't on the bench? Wait a minute. I'm nearly certain I called out Bailey on the bench. Did I not? Because I think I went back and I checked him as well to see if he was even there. Could be the old age catching up with me. Father Time is undefeated. And Bailey is on the bench. There you guys, making me think I was losing my marbles. Longley, Bailey, Dendonker, and Kellyman. He is on the bench. 3-2 says Oscar. 1-0 says Spencer Walter. Hey, who mayor is this person says 2-1 to Villa. Dicko says 3-1 to Villa. And Standing on the World is asking me to do a Mooney online. I don't know about that one. I certainly don't know about that one, but we'll see. What that's not up for discussion actually. But if they win 5-0, I'll do something for the foundation, or I'll just give a donation depending on what it is. Emma Wood says 3-1 to Villa. Justin says they're hoping for a 2-1. Tyra is would gladly take a 3-0 Villa victory with Watkins the Abbey and Nico to score. Danny H has 3-1 with Ollie first goal scorer. Emma Wood is saying 9-0 Paddy versus Carling. Well, I've seen a few photographs today. I think it's Paddy versus Bira Moretti, I think is what it is today. That's the way that one is going on. And it's a shame because he was trying to call in here so that I could put him through my new system where I can take phone calls. I just haven't mastered it yet, and I don't want him to come on and for there to be technical issues yet. I was messing around with it today, and I just haven't got the grips with it. But maybe you might have it for the post-match podcast so that he can just call in as opposed to have to pop on in a dodgy Wi-Fi stream. Sargetus says 2-1 to Villa. Dean Blackwood says 3-0 Villa. Mia Foley says 2-0 to the Villa. Junior Bennett says 1-0 will do me. James Rutherford says 2-0. Michael Reeven says 6-2 to Aston Villa. Wowie. 5-2 says Ty Doyle. Anthony says 4-1 Villa. Craig Chauner says 2-0 Villa with Zaniolo to rip it up today. Juan Ed says 3-0 to Villa or 2-1. Shootings Tweet says 3-1 to Villa. CC says, do Neil and Paddy a favour and hit the like. Yeah, I'd love if you could hit the like button. That would be nice. And he also says it's going to be 2-1 as well. And last one is Padjo's Mashup says 2-2 in this one today. And you know what? This is going to be a cagey enough. It's going to be a cagey enough affair. So, sorry, not a cagey enough affair, but this is one whereby the teams will be evenly matched. I think there'll be goals in it. It could very easily be a draw. I think I will be on the post-match podcast, providing that we don't draw in an absolutely spectacularly bundling fashion. But if it was a 2-2 draw and both teams were evenly matched, I would be smiling ear to ear with this one, because we have a decent run of fixtures. And I know it's low to say that when you're an Aston Villa fan, but you know, not like taking points off the teams around us is our MO at the moment. We're ahead of West Ham in the league table. Drawing with West Ham today ain't the end of the world. It means that we still keep ahead of them. Yes, we might lose ground on teams ahead of us. Beating West Ham today is massive for Aston Villa, huge. But not losing today, I suppose, really is just as big with the run of games that we have coming up. Obviously, we've got some must-win European games as well. Having the 3 points today would really be nice peace of mind for Aston Villa with their fixture list over the next few weeks. So I fully expect Aston Villa to go out here and get a win today. I fully expect to see a vibrant Aston Villa. I expect to see an Aston Villa that should be full on confidence. I expect to see a fully fit Diaby after, I think, maybe the last game we saw him against Wolves. He was rushed back. I don't think his injury was fully there yet. He's had 2 weeks to get over that. I expect to see Zaniolo with his pants on fire, trying to get around the field to change. As I say, I hope to see him like that, try and change the narrative around his name over the last few weeks. I expect to see Douglas Luiz trying to control the game. Kamara dropping back in between the two centre halves because we're in a 4. I expect to see, once again, going back to my mantra, is the defined position for a number 6 has to be Kamara. It just has to be Kamara, and he has to drop back at times in between that back, the back two. And he can't be caught on their toes just in front of them. He either drops back in or he gives them space. The spacing there is so pivotal. I'm blue in the face from saying that with this team. And I expect Matty Cash and Luca Dean to overlap on those sides as well, with Kamara dropping in to be that third centre half. So all in all, really interesting game against a really strong West Ham team that have really come out of the blocks like ourselves this season. And to be honest with you, it's fitting that a game like this, where you've got two teams like ourselves, like when we played Brighton, there was two teams that were considered kind of two of the best of the rest that are out there after the top 4, the top 6. Let's go out there and show that we're better than the best of the rest for Aston Villa today and get that result that they could propel us and put a real bit of respect on our name, I suppose, as we go into a run of fixtures whereby they're going to be rat-a-tat-tat, midweek games, weekend games, pretty much here all the way up to the next international break. So it's going to be a period whereby we'll either strike gold and get lots of points, or we will falter, and I hope we don't falter. But starting off well today is, I suppose, the first piece of the puzzle for Aston Villa over the coming weeks. So I am going to leave it at that, everybody. It's 7 minutes to 4. Kickoff 6 minutes to 4. It's just ticked over. Kickoff is at 4:30. As I mentioned, Dale AVFC Stato is going to be starting his live stream as soon as we're finished. We're going to throw you over to that directly, so you don't got to do anything. Just got to stay here, and you'll be automatically redirected there if that is your fancy to follow the watch along that Dale is doing. Dale's going to hit you up with all the statistics here. He's going to tell you what minute and how high the blades of grass were when Tom Cleverley last scored the goal 10 years ago. Was it 10 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago for Aston Villa against West Ham, and the last time that we won. So get over there to AVFC Stato, or stay here, should I say, and you'll be redirected over to AVFC Stato. We will be back with a post-match podcast right on the final whistle. So stay with us for that. Come join us. Hopefully we'll be talking about an Aston Villa win, and I've got a good feeling about this one. I think we will be talking about an Aston Villa win, and we'll have Master Patrick live from Villa Park, full to the brim of Birra Moretti as well. So that might be something to join in for on its own. So I'm going to leave everybody on that. Thank you so much as well, everybody, for watching and for listening. If you aren't already subscribed to our audio podcast, costs you nothing to do it. Helps us with the algorithms there on that side as well. Don't even have to listen to the podcast. Just subscribe it. It gives us a bit of a kick there. A lot of people don't do YouTube. They just do audio, but they don't even know that we're out there to listen to us. And hey, they might like us if they get to hear us. But the only way they'll get to hear us is if the algorithm starts to push us. And the best way to support the podcast is just to subscribe on the audio podcast side of things as well as YouTube. So don't leave here without giving a thumbs up and subscribing to the podcast as well. But thanks so much, everybody. Going to leave it at that. Aston Villa versus West Ham. Here's hoping to an Aston Villa win. I never gave my prediction. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Aston Villa, and hopefully we're going to be cheering that come the final whistle today. So until we see you later, all that's left to say is up the Villa, and you're going straight over to Dale's podcast, Dale's stream now. No, not now, because I forgot to hit my outro.